like put it this way, we all want cool things to happen. We all want to say like cool things to happen. And when cool things do happen, you remember them. And I've had a few cool things. I've had an owl. For some reason, I looked up. I had this beautiful snowy owl, feet from my head, just fly over me as when I was about 9 years old. Thought that was the coolest, right? And I thought I saw a UFO when I was about 13 years old. Okay, I was walking around the lake, and I heard a rumble. Saw a rumble, and I looked up, and I saw an aircraft. It was in the shape of a triangle, and had flashing lights, and it went right over me, and I shit my pants. I remember running home, terrified, thought I saw a UFO. Monday comes along, I go to school. There's an older kid, grade like 7 or 8, and he's got a magazine, and it's the air show was in town. And I just moved to the city. Okay. I didn't know. I'm like, let me see. Do you mind? Can I see that for a second? And he's like, well, what do you like planes or whatever? And he was a much older kid, and he shows me, and on it was what I saw. What I saw was a Vulcan aircraft. It was a plane, a Vulcan, and a Vulcan has that triangle shape to it. It looks absolutely beautiful. Okay. Now, I was convinced that I saw a UFO. Okay. For about 2 days, until the older kid said, the air show's in town. There's going to be some cool planes coming in and out. And I remember just breathing I was like, man, I thought I saw something cool, and I didn't. And then years later, I was like, no, you idiot. You saw something cool. You saw a Vulcan aircraft, bomber fly over you. That is cool. Why do we need to make these idiotic stories? Why do we always got to go like, this light came down, and these 3 little guys came out, and they circled us, and we sit there and we watch these shows, and we just think, this is fantastic. This is incredible. This is bullshit. I mean, we all want cool things to happen. And Bob Lazar and his gang know that, hey, let's just feed them this stuff. And instead of looking at the facts and saying, wait a minute, the school doesn't add up, all this other horse shit doesn't add up. Maybe the guy's a liar, but we don't want that. What we want is, no, this guy here, he worked with aliens. He came up with this element, man. He's going to change mankind for the better.
But he hasn't. That's the thing.
He's made it worse. He's made people stupider. Okay, because if you believe in ancient aliens, that idiotic show, if you believe that the aliens are here to help you, or if aliens are here to help us, they're doing a pretty shitty job. Because if you've not looked at the news lately, it's been pretty shit. Okay, so if you get your little green friends or little gray friends or whatever you want to call them, tell them to step up and really help out. And because it's human nature. We want fantastic things. What's that great saying by Carl Sagan? What's that saying? A wonderful saying of amazing things need amazing. I fucked it up.
Yeah, you did, because I don't know what that is.
No, he said, he goes like this. He goes,
I know the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
No. He said anything that is, he has this great saying. I know for a fact it's Carl Sagan.
I love Carl Sagan.
I'll tell you exactly what he said. And this is what Doesn't matter. I'm going to fix this up. Carl Sagan. Extraordinary claims. So now I remember. This is what Carl Sagan said. Okay. Carl Sagan said this, he said, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. And that's what we need. We need the evidence.
And there are plenty of other things that if you are into ufology and you do want to believe in this stuff, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I mean, look at what's out there now, like with the Tic Tac videos of the Navy fighters. There is stuff that's out there. There is things that can, in your opinion, in the person's opinion, prove that aliens exist or UFOs exist. I'm not saying that they don't. I personally do believe that there's other life forms out there. We can't be it. What I'm saying is, when the basic credibility of someone is shot or faulty at best, maybe you shouldn't bank on them to be the poster child of your hobbyist field. And maybe you need to start using an ounce of skepticism. That's what I'm saying. And that's the problem that we're having. And people aren't willing to push back because they feel that if they do, then they're pushing back on all of it.
Yeah.
And it's not. You can easily say, look, dude, by your own words and your own actions, you have no credibility. You can't back up anything. Just because there's a Netflix documentary about you does not make it true. Yeah. I remember watching the Blair Witch Project. It's not true.
I remember watching it going, man, this is really giving me a headache. Literally, like Bob Lazar, Lazar.
Bob Lazar, yeah. So, and the thing is that he won't sit down and be challenged. So to me, all points, all evidence, the facts, his own statement, public records, and things that have nothing to do with ufology or Area 51, such as the U.S. Geological Society and other agencies, all point to lies, and fraud. And if that doesn't piss people off, nothing can.
Yeah, but it's such a huge lie that I mean, it would be literally impossible. Like, I know it's a bad thing to say, but yesterday was 9/11. And people believe that it was brought down by, explosives.
Yeah.
People believe that.
There's always going to be conspiracy theorists, no matter what. There's people who still deny the Holocaust. Yeah. So there's always going to be that group. And that's not the group that I care about. You know why? Because they're going to believe what they want to believe, and they'll take it to their death despite anything. To me, that's separate. There's people with Lazar that don't know all of these other little facets. They may have heard of this, they may have heard of that, and it's been explained away. They haven't seen it all together and put together with backing. I can give you case numbers. We can give you actual evidence. We can give you records, birth certificates, marriage certificates, bankruptcy records that provide a timeline of his location to prove that he didn't receive this education and he couldn't have worked here and he did this and he admitted he falsified that. And if that's not good enough, we can look at what he said that is in, and you can listen to it come out of his own mouth and realize your story changed or it doesn't line up with this. Those people are the ones that we really need to talk to. And I don't think they're dumb. I don't think they're idiots. I think they've been misled. And I think that they've not had the chance to hear all of this or see all of this. And it gets waved away because half the people are saying, it's Bob Lazar. We know he's a fraud, blah, blah, blah. I don't think anybody expected in 1989 for this to snowball to the level it has.
Oh, he's at a slot machine that just keeps giving. I mean, like you got to remember in 1989, no such thing as the internet.
Internet
I think
like this, Google searches like this.
yeah, there was nothing where you could Google stuff and nothing. You remember that, like I look outside and I wish for the days of the horse and buggy,
Right.
oh my,
Or even the card catalog in the Dewey Decimal System. That's how we had to research stuff.
Remember this. Like if I said to you in 1989, this is going to be a telephone and you could take pictures and video, and you would sit there and go, are you on?
No, we got excited when there was call waiting.
Yeah. Remember when
and that was back then, where, oh my God, I've got a second call. Hold on.
Remember the beeper? Remember
oh my God, a pager. And I finally got a pager my senior year of high school, and I was instantly a drug dealer.
Here's I think what Bob and Corbell and these guys, what they've done is a disservice.
I think it's genius.
I think it's a disservice because they what they've done is they go, okay, there's going to be people that are against us, okay, but there are people that are willing to pay a lot of money. I don't care about the people that I don't care what you say. I don't care what this guy says. I care about what the History Channel will pay us. I care about what producers, stations will pay us. That's what I care about, and that's where we're at now. We're not at a point where if you were called a liar back in high school or whatever,
I would have donkey kicked somebody in the teeth.
Yeah, but that like you would just feel like such a maggot. Like you're a liar. It's just like, well, why? What am I lying about? Oh, you said you did this and you didn't. And you're like, okay, that's embarrassing. You called me out and you were right. Well, he now the Corbell and Bob,
Lazar.
What they do is this. There are people out there that believe that the earth is flat, and no matter what you say or whatever proof you show them, they're going to say, no, it is flat. There are people out there that think we did not even land on the moon.
Yeah.
Okay. So with Bob and all these guys here, they know that they've got their own this market. Okay. That they don't care that we don't believe them. But all I'm saying is, if there's enough people to push back, to sit there, if Joe Rogan sat there and said, hey, why don't you come back on the show? And this time I'm going to have a physicist talk. Like, do that. Mm-hmm. I would watch that. Like, I would sit there and go, okay, let's see what you got. Like,
you triggered something that made me remember something where in the beginning, you remember he was saying, to the journalist who really blew this out of the water, George Knapp, he wasn't in it for the money. But what people didn't know is that he actually was, because he was in a deal with Sony or a new image or some sort of, I can't remember. I'm trying to look for it now. I had it for money. They like a multi-million-dollar contract to do a movie about his story just within 2 years of coming forward. Okay, so he was in it for the money. It is a cash cow for him. But then he kept saying he wanted to hide away, not do anything. Well, he admitted to pandering. Just so people know, that's not made up. He admitted he recruited a local prostitute named Tracy, encouraged her to solicit customers at a Tamara Street apartment complex, and he would take funds for it. His attorney was named, and I'm not making this up, it's Bill Smith. Can you be any more generic? When pleading to try and get the conviction erased and not do jail time, his attorney stated that a felony conviction was enough punishment for his client's, quote, misdirected adventure. And in court, he stated, this has had a devastating effect. He has to get his finances back together, reconstruct his self-image and his image with the public. So don't tell me he's not trying to, wants to be popular or any of this other stuff. The
Mhm.
other thing that you said that really triggered something for me to remember is the sensationalism and what was left out of this documentary. So he has this secretly recorded conversation with Jeremy Corbell about element 115, in which he is asked, did you steal a portion of element 115? And Lazar responds,
Lazar's talking to,
the producer on the phone,
okay.
Jeremy Corbell on the phone. And supposedly this is recorded in secret, blah, blah, blah. And Lazar responds, his response answer, yes or no, is they cover it up. So it's not known whether or not he said yes or no, but supposedly the very next day, his house or his business is raided by the FBI.
Right.
So George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell are on the telephone, which is being videotaped and recorded. They're raiding his house. They're raiding his apartment. So it's alluded to the government is still following him because of element 115. What they did not disclose in what they left out was that this search warrant for his business was signed days before that conversation by a judge up in Michigan, because United Nuclear sold a chemical called thallium, which is a gasless, odorless, tasteless poison. And they shipped it through the mail to somebody up in Michigan. And it was suspected that this person murdered someone else using this chemical agent. So months and months and months before, his business was already under investigation because it tied to something else. And the police knew this raid was going to happen days in advance. This court order was signed in a different state that didn't even know this documentary was being filmed, and it was ignorant of anything that was happening.
But
Mhm.
Lazar ordered this poison crap.
No, Lazar owns a business called owned a business called United Nuclear something. Okay. And he still does, and it has chemicals and stuff there or whatever. One of the chemicals that he owns or he had and that he sold on his site and shipped was called thallium.
Okay.
Thallium is a chemical agent that can be used to poison and kill someone. Somebody committed a murder up in Michigan. They ordered this chemical agent from Lazar's company. It was suspected, not saying it did happen, that possibly the murder occurred because of this chemical agent. So they did a raid on Lazar's company to see if this existed, as well as other things were being shipped illegally using the Postal Service.
Give me 1 second. I got to close this because the storm just hit. I got to close this window because I could barely hear you.
Exciting.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be.
Did you hear it?
No, not at all. I'm actually jealous because we haven't really had anything.
Oh, it just all of a sudden came down, and all of a sudden I could barely hear you, and I was worried that because this is important.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue. Go on.
So, because this is a big thing of what they do. So his company was under investigation for one thing of selling chemicals and things like that through the mail, illegal shipping. So there was already that.
Oh, wow.
And then there was a murder case that was going on up in Michigan. So they wanted to trace if this was involved, blah, blah, blah. That's what the search warrants were for. So for what they did though, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, is they pieced this raid together to make it appear as though it was sudden, overnight, got this judge's signature because he had this conversation about element 115 with Jeremy Corbell. They never went back and said, well, actually the police records and the logs, which I will send you copies of, show that not only was this warrant signed days before, but this raid was planned out days before as well. It had nothing to do with a phone conversation.
That's
But
what I
they
mean.
sensationalize it.
It's so scummy. Like, people, come on. It's so scummy.
But
Like,
see, he knew this,
yes.
you know,
Here's
because
the,
when a search warrant is performed, they have to provide it to you.
yes, but I would call you up if I'm doing a documentary with you, and I would just sit there and go, guess what? Guess what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't show anybody your copy of the search warrant, which was provided, because then that will back up that, hey, you know, this had nothing to do with this conversation. Just keep that hidden.
Right. Like that I could easily call you up and just say, hey, you know, we'll get us a hell of a lot more views. Guess what golden goose just landed on my lap today?
Yeah.
You know, I just were, you know, I could, you know, it would be very simple. And if you wanted to argue with me, I would just go like this. I would go, do you want to make money? Because you don't understand. Like,
yeah, he gets money from this.
Of course he does. Like, you know, but here's the guy, the poor, I wish they would leave me alone. Look what they did. Look what they did. They raided my business. They and it's just like, dude, you are such a scumbag.
Okay. You made me think of something else. So you know how he claimed that he worked at this absolute secret location of S4, which was located on Papoose Lake, right? You had to take a bus there, whatever. Aerial photo, topographical maps show that there's nothing there. Okay, let's just dismiss that. Well, if it was so top secret and it you know, you have to take a bus that is blacked out just to get there, so you don't know where S4 is located. Can you please explain to me how in 1993 Greenpeace was able to hold a demonstration on Papoose Lake, but they didn't see any secret installation whatsoever? Trust me, if Greenpeace does not like the government, so if they wanted to expose something, they were going to look, but they were right in the local area. They didn't see shit. Not to mention, they were able to get out there without being apprehended by any security personnel.
Yeah.
If there was a secret installation there where he claimed that he had to be bussed, how is it Greenpeace got there with no problems? You see what I'm saying?
No,
That's
I know.
common sense.
It's just I mean, this guy, if this was a murder trial, this guy would be serving 3,000 years.
Yeah. So what ended up happening with that case is they found that, yeah, it was shipped, but there was no way to conclusively prove that thallium was used in the murder or something else like that. They just had to search his business. However, his business did lose in a case in which they were fined for having illegal chemicals there, or chemicals that could have caused fire and shipping them illegally and stuff like that. So again, let's look at the credibility. Here's a guy who has no problems breaking the law. He has a felony pandering conviction. He is a felony. He has filed bankruptcy because he is so bad with money. If you look at his bankruptcy records, it shows that, I mean, he would definitely not get secret clearance because he would absolutely be at risk of espionage.
Do you remember the 1989 when they did the story about him and he's driving around a Corvette?
Mm-hmm.
because the idiot just, he loves fast cars, but he doesn't have the money for them.
He didn't have, he had to borrow money for that car and then filed bankruptcy saying, I can't pay it. So he's got a felony conviction. His business, he broke the law with, and he knew about it. He then, he filed bankruptcy for a lot of money. He admitted he created a fake badge to try and prove that he worked somewhere. That should tell you this guy's word is not worth shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What in conclusion, what, like, are people just dumb?
I think some people are dumb. Yes. I think some people want to have their head in the sand because they want to believe so badly. They feel like this guy is the answer to the conspiracies that they have, that they're willing to play ignorant because ignorance is bliss to them.
Right.
And I don't think that they realize that they are being complicit in discrediting and reducing this field to a joke. I don't think they realize that by ignoring the falsehoods that this guy is told and the lack of credibility that he is, that they are also, their complacency makes them just as dirty as he is. Mm-hmm. They want to believe. There's nothing, you and I, we've talked about this ad nauseum. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, but there's plenty of things out there that are more substantial, that's worth their weight in gold. For example, the Tic Tac videos of the Navy pilots, they're all credible. Things like that. The Black Vault that has tons of documentation in there. You can lean on that and nobody is going to fault you for that because there's something there. Nobody's going to look at you like you're a dumbass.
And that, what sucks is where Bob will sit there and go, like with those, when those fighter pilots are chasing down, that's where Bob will sit there and his crew will go, see, told you.
Yeah. And that the thing is that it's not but people, they don't know. And it's also, keep in mind, this story has been going on for over, 30 years. So it's really hard after you've promoted this or you've believed in this for so long to have to stop in your tracks and say, I got bamboozled for so many years, because now people are stuck in the same kind of rut where it's like, man, I've also been sharing this so much.
Yeah, but
what happens if I backtrack now?